The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, listeners. As you all know, this is one of the favorite time of the week for me. And today, we are going to be talking about some very special topic, which probably some of you may be like, we are tired of it. So stay tuned. I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of the show, because I want to share that we are nearing to the end of this month, and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for being a part of our family, because without you, the show would not be possible. And also, I want to thank you for your generosity for getting the books. They're right there behind me, Entrepreneur's Garden and Expert to Influencer, helping you to be the best person you can be and leveraging your life to move forward, whether you're an expert who's looking to be an influencer or whether you're an entrepreneur or a corporate leader. So folks, as you all know, the profits from both the books are going to kiva.org, to entrepreneurs impacted by COVID-19. Not only that, I want to call upon each of you, if you can donate 1 hour of your time to help somebody else. Think about it, how much we could achieve. And so today, folks, we will be talking to an expert who has created a niche for herself as a Zoom makeover. So welcome, Shelley.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So tell us, we are going to go way back, that when you were a kid, did you like to just kind of there are a lot of people who like to do skits, be part of drama classes, or do theater, or do something where you're coming in front of audience. Was there any streak of it when you were a child?
No, not even close. I grew up in a neighborhood of all boys. And so I played baseball on a regular basis. I was probably a switch hitter by the time I was 6 years old. And football wasn't quite my thing, but baseball was. Baseball and swimming. When I think in middle school and high school, and I had to take public speaking, that was like the worst course ever. It was horrible. How could you get up and speak in front of people? But as I became more, as I got older and I learned what works for me, became super confident to be able to talk to people about what I know best. And so now I do a ton of talking, and any of that, there was no experience way back when. It's all kind of learn it as you go.
Learning as you go. That's fantastic. So as you grew up, what was the field that you decided to follow through?
So I actually grew up, I have a little bit of a genetic predisposition. As an image consultant, I'm actually 4th generation in the fashion and clothing business. My great grandfather made fur coats in Russia. Probably did his father make fur coats? Possibly, probably, but I don't know for a fact. Both my mom and dad were raised in the men's clothing business. And when I went to college, I was not going to be in that business. I was going to go into radiology, but I couldn't quite keep up with all the pre-meds. So I changed my major to textiles and business. So I'm a real textile junkie. I started my first fashion consulting business. I called it fashion consulting. It's called styling, image consulting. Give it a name, give it a decade. It's all the same thing. In my mid-20s, this is my gift. This is what I do best, by really helping people look their best, feel more confident, and to help them really attract the people into their life that they want to attract. And that's what I'm doing now online.
Well, that's very powerful. So we already have a stream of questions.
Awesome.
The first question is that, when did you become comfortable doing public speaking?
When did I become comfortable? I guess it's probably been over the last 15 or 20 years. I've organized a number of events. And of course, as the event organizer, you have to get up and lead your people and then get up and speak in front of a lot of people at the event. And that's when it started. And I moved to San Francisco, where I am based right now, about 8 years ago. And when I started my business, I started speaking. And I wasn't very good at first, but I got better and better. But the funny thing is, my mom, who passed away a couple of years ago, would probably laugh. She said from the time I was just a little girl, "Oh, stop speaking with your hands. You're such an actress." So it's funny that you asked me that question, because my mom might have had one thought when I was a little girl, and certainly I had a different thought.
Actually, our audience has asked that question, and there's a stream of other questions which I'm going to fire away.
Okay.
So the second question is, what advice would you give to teenagers and young adults as to how can they become comfortable and at ease when they're speaking in front of public?
I think the most important thing is to know your topic backwards and forwards. If you're talking about something that you know really well and you feel proud that you know this topic well, it's easier. It is more comfortable to talk about something you know that you feel confident about. And confidence is the name of the game when you're speaking. And so if you feel confident that you know you have the right answers, that you know you can come up with an intelligent answer to somebody's question, even if it's a little bit on the iffy side, the confidence will take you through so that you can complete your thoughts and show off as being competent, and it really elevates your brand as a speaker.
Definitely some very insightful wisdom over there. And also, when you talk about speaking, the key is talking about something that you're passionate about. Because when you said it really well, that you should know your topic well. And let's say if we add to that if you're speaking about something that you're passionate, then it just comes naturally. It's who you are. It helps you stay authentic. So for example, I'll share with you, even to this day, even though I've been an entrepreneur for, almost 10, 11 years now, folks, I still hesitate to sell something, because then I'm thinking that, okay, in it, it's a selling thing, and there is a hesitation around it. And at the same token, let's say if I'm doing for a cause. So for example, I'm just going to share an example about my books. I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs who are impacted by COVID-19. Not only that, books provide great value. Or if I'm speaking about doing some fundraising for a cause that I believe in, I can go on for hours and hours because I'm passionate about it. I believe in it. So that's one of the things also, additionally, folks, especially as youngsters, find something that you are passionate about gather around some friends and, of course, with masks and social distancing, and just give it a shot. Because here's the thing, unless you do it, you will not know that you can do. And unless you fail, factor in the failure. Unless you fail, you're not going to know how to do it differently. So failure is nothing but a learning experience. So the next question is, I know in fashion these days.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Are you in fashion industry?
Oh, am I in fashion?
Uh-huh.
I am. I have been in and out of the fashion business my entire adult life. So I am a personal branding image consultant. I work with men and women. I help them create a look that they feel so comfortable with, that they're attracting the people that they want to attract, especially for professionals. If you want to perhaps get a new position, attract clients to you, if I just actually worked with a woman who has a new position in Washington, D.C., from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. So we created not a new image, but a better image. We talked about hair, coloring, what color clothing, what color hair, what color makeup to wear, so that she looks and feels her best. And going back to the word confidence and passion, I think I love your word. The passion is really what it's all about. But when you feel confident that you know you look fabulous, you can walk into a room, you own the room, and people see the energy that you bring with you, and they could feel it. And that's what I do, is I really help people look and feel their best so they can do whatever they do to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm. Some great points, having that confidence, wearing that confidence, because one of the stories I still remember to this day is that one of the times I remember interviewing someone, and she, by the society standard, would not be what you would call a well-dressed or to, that professional look or anything like that. And yet when she started talking, it was just something different, because she was wearing that confidence. And now think about it, if she had you, so along with that confidence, if she was looking her best. So can you share with us, because there are a lot of people now, especially nowadays, there is this trend and the whole new perspective that you want to be authentic and looking your best. How does it sit well and align with being your true self and being authentic?
Well, I think that's just it. When you are put together, so people are attracted to things that are harmonious, that look good. You don't want to say, "Oh, that looks terrible. I'm going to go sit next to this thing or this person that looks bad," like, as opposed to, "Oh, that's a nice piece of art," or, "Wow, I like the way this person looks," whatever type of person it may be that you might be attracted to. So we're attracted to good-looking things. Genetically, that's our predisposition to repopulate as well. So if you are looking your best, you're wearing the right colors so that you don't look pale, you don't look washed out, you don't look green, you don't look jaundice. So if you're wearing, but it happens all the time. And especially right now, since we're talking about fashion, right now in style, what's in style, style is different than fashion. What's in style right now, there is so much gray. And gray, most people honestly don't look good in gray. As you're laughing, okay. Most people don't look good in gray, especially like medium to light gray. Unless you have really blonde hair or gray hair, what it does is it washes you out, because it's actually not a color. It's a tone. And so people look washed out, and like you want to be attractive. You want people to be attracted to you. You want to radiate. You want to have this energy that when you get dressed up and you walk into some place and you're all dressed up and you're like, I feel fabulous. I look fabulous. You stand differently. You speak differently, and you're attracting people to you, a little bit more magnetism.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about bringing in that natural charisma,
right?
And not taking that magnetism to another notch. So when we talk about that, so you touched upon gray. Can you go over just general colors as to, especially now with Zoom, right? We are connecting on Zoom here, and a lot of people are doing Zoom. So can you tell us what the camera angle should be, what type of camera? Sometimes, like computer cameras are not so great, getting that additional Logitech. So if you can walk through that piece as to colors, lighting, camera angles, and how people can look their best.
Absolutely. So at the beginning of COVID, I created, it just was natural. I kind of went from helping people look good in person to helping them look good online. Just because I'm in the look good business, as I call it. It's kind of a funny thing, but I'm in the look good business. I help people look good. And so I've come up with this 5-step process that I take people through to really help them look good, everything in their Zoom box. Because that's what we see. We don't just see you and me. When you look at me, you see me and you see everything in my Zoom box. And so it's like a painting, and that's kind of how I picture it. And when people are looking at you and you're looking at everybody, you see what's behind them. You see if they're in the light, you see if they're in the dark. So it's really important that everything around you works well. So just kind of step by step. So you asked me about lighting. Lighting is the most important thing, because that's the first thing everybody sees. Again, they see if you're in the light, they see if you're in the dark. They see if you have light on one side of your face, or if you have so much light behind you that you are actually in the dark. So my suggestion is to have, ideally, if you could sit in front of a window that's not too overly sunlit, that would be ideal. But most people don't have that option. Like me personally, I have a sliding glass door on my left. So I during the day, I get so much light coming in on my left that I have to compensate on the right. So what I suggest is have lights at 2 lights, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, so that you're lighting actually each side of your face. This is if you wear glasses. But not only do you want to put them at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, you want to actually put them a little higher than your eyes, almost at the top of your head, looking downward, because what it does, it actually softens the light on your skin. And so it just looks nicer.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question before we continue moving forward. So you talked about 10 and 2.
Yeah.
There's so many people with glasses, and thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
People get reflected back. So how is it that people can manage that lights are not reflected back?
So for the people that wear glasses, you can't have the light on your face. So if you shine the light on the right side and then you shine it on the left side, that you're actually shining it on the sides of your face and you're missing your glasses. That's that. So like I have also blue light protective computer glasses, which I highly recommend, especially for people who are on the computer all day long, because you have the UV rays coming off the monitor. So even people who maybe don't wear glasses to read or see a certain distance are wearing glasses for protecting their eyes. For those people who don't wear glasses, you can have a light directly in front of you, but I would be careful of ring lights. So many people are getting ring lights, and one of the things about ring lights is you get circles in your eyes, and so you need to really be careful. So
I never thought of that. That's very powerful.
So I have a super tricks, my super tip. So one of the things that I do when I'm working with a client doing a Zoom makeover is I quite often have them put paper, and sometimes colored paper, over their lights, such as I specifically say fuchsia and yellow Post-its. This to me, it's actually a brighter yellow. It's not the original yellow Post-it, but fuchsia and yellow Post-its over the lights, which I have on my lights. And the reason I say that, so I'm a certified color consultant, so I'm always working with people in their color skin tone and what color works best on them. But by combining these two colors, it creates a peach color. And that actually counterbalances the blue light coming off the screen onto your face. And it doesn't matter if you're dark-skinned or light-skinned, it is the correct counterbalance for the blue light coming off the screen, so you don't look washed out. Because I'm sure, you look at yourself in the camera and you're like, oh, I look so washed out. I always look overlit or underlit, but gray and blue. That's the trick. That's the cheap and easy little hack.
Oh, that's a fantastic hack. So when you said the fuchsia and deep yellow, so is it like both go on both the lights, or they go like yellow goes on one light and fuchsia goes on another light?
I'm going to show you my light. How about that? So, but I have to turn it off. So, okay. So here is one of my lights. So I have fuchsia and yellow, and I can actually tip it over if I need a little more light, a little more fuchsia, and if I didn't have these, I would look like this. By putting these Post-its over the light, it actually softens the light on my skin. And I have my clients, sometimes you want to, it doesn't even have to be neat and organized. Sometimes if you have a ring light, sometimes I say maybe half yellow, half fuchsia, or yellow fuchsia, yellow fuchsia, yellow fuchsia. And it's just whatever works for you in the space you're in. Because depending upon the light that you have in your room, do you have incandescent light, which is already a little bit yellow? Do you have other light that maybe you want to make yourself a little warmer? Also, the ring lights quite often have warm, neutral, and cool colors to them. So I always suggest, if you have a ring light, make sure you have it on the warm color. So it's on your skin, and it just warms it up. You'll look healthier.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, your lighting, it looks like that definitely the peach color that you're talking about. That's what your skin is being definitely giving out or reflecting. So one of the questions that has come in is, what can you expand on the Zoom box that you speak of?
The Zoom what?
Zoom box, the frame that we're talking about.
Okay, so let's continue talking. So the lighting, that's really important. The next thing that I talk about is background. So background, think of a painting. When you see a painting, whether it's an old painting. So I lived in Amsterdam for 10 years. And when I lived there, one of the things that I did is I studied European art, and the Dutch masters and the Impressionists in particular seem to kind of ring my bell. And so when they're creating a painting, they use lines of perception, lines of perspective. And there's a foreground, a midground, and a background. But more importantly is the artist shows you where they want you to look. So let's talk about, you want to be in the foreground. So you want your face and your body in the foreground so that people can see your eyes, you appear more trustworthy. If they could see your torso, they could see all of your nonverbal communication, at least as much as they could possibly see, and you can increase engagement and improve your rapport, which of course then elevates your brand because people feel like they're just sitting on the other side of the table from you. And that's actually my goal. So that's you, but your background, so you really want to have a nice, neat, tidy, non-distracting background. So clean up your mess. I mean, I see it all the time. Like, you know, we'll be in someone's office and they've got, you know, like a whole mess in the corner. Like, clean it up. Nobody really wants to see your mess. But also,
Right.
one of the things that I do is I try to create these subliminal lines so that you actually will come back to my face. So looking at my visual in my box. So I've got these, oops, everything seems a little backwards. So I have these round flowers over here. I have my new lightweight little round glasses. And then I have this round circle over here. And actually it creates a bit of a diagonal. And my eyes are in that diagonal. I also have two rectangular planes. I've got this rectangular plane over here, and I have this painting on the wall. And again, my eyes are in the middle of that diagonal. So it's crossing about right here, but that's pretty darn close. So I'm forcing you to look at my eyes. And even with what I'm wearing today, so this is a sweater because it's rather cold out today, I'm forcing you to look at my face, my eyes, and then down my torso so that you can see my torso. This also brings us to color clothing. So what you don't want.
You know, before we move on for the color clothing, there's another question that let's talk about that, and then we'll definitely move on to color clothing.
Okay.
What if you don't want to be right up in people's faces?
Well, it also depends who you are and what you're doing. I think if you're just having a social chat, it really doesn't matter. If you are conducting business of any sort, I think it's really pertinent that they can see your face and your eyes. Because if you and I were having a meeting and we're having a conversation, giving a presentation, you want people to be able to see you. You want them to be able to read your nonverbal cues, to see your face, to see how you are radiating. But also, if you're leaning back, especially in Zoom or whatever platform you're on, whether it's Teams or Meet or WebEx, if you lean back just the slightest bit, you have now shrunk by half. And you look disinterested. By leaning in, by showing up and leaning in, you look interested. People can actually engage with you better if you lean in, if you look more interested, if you're closer to the camera. And of course, that improves your rapport and your trustworthiness. If they can't really see you, they don't know if you're looking down and playing on your phone and playing with your computer because you're really sitting back here doing your thing. But if they can see your eyes looking, whether it's at the camera or, of course, usually quite often people are looking down at the monitor so they could see the other person or the other people that are on the call. But it's pretty darn close. And that, I hear that all the time. It's so distracting when somebody, you can't really tell if they're typing on their keyboard. They're not really paying attention. So you want people to pay attention. You want people to engage with you. You want to lean in so that also it helps people, tells people that you're there, you're engaged. You want to create a rapport with them. And of course, this elevates your brand. The better you're perceived, the better you are, and the better it is for your personal brand.
Absolutely. You're definitely right on. There are a couple of other questions before we move on to coloring of the people are asking. So one of the questions is, what about people with imperfections they don't want attention on?
Imperfections? This is like skin imperfections?
Skin, and sometimes, as it happens, as we grow older, we have lines around our eyes, and a lot of people don't want attention to that. Or it could be that somebody's having a bad headache.
Gotcha. Okay. Actually, that's one of the things I just love about Zoom. It just makes you look younger and better. But it is the truth. But there's also something built into Zoom that can help that. So if you were on Zoom, I'm going to just kind of tell you, if you go into the little settings, if you go into settings, because so most people are on Zoom when they're online, and if you go into the settings, usually the little up caret next to the little camera, and you go into video settings, there will be a couple of boxes that you can tick off. One of them is improve your appearance. And you really want to make sure that is absolutely ticked off, because what it does is it actually gives you an instant facelift. But what it does is it actually blurs everything in your box a little bit. Now, Zoom actually updated, I don't know exactly when, so about 3.5 months ago, so maybe in October, Zoom had an update. And so now you can not only check off the box, but there's a little toggle that you can move back and forth, and it makes it even blurrier. But what it does, it takes a few years off. So that's really awesome. But you want to be careful that everything else is still, looks in focus. So that's one thing. Also, if you're on Zoom, for those who use Zoom, they have another new feature for adjust for low light. And that's a real gift, because you can you don't have to worry as much about the lighting in your room, because not only, like if you have lights on your face, it's just on your face, everything else is dark. But that particular feature adjusts all the light in your box. So that is really nice. And so I think that is one way that you can adjust for imperfections while wearing your slippers. And whatever you want at the bottom.
Actually, I have a funny story to share. So I was teaching a workshop, and usually we'll do some engaging activities. So, people kind of get into the mojo of what we're learning, because learning is fun. And yet, when you're by yourself in the room. So we had that, okay, we are going to get up, we are going to dance, we put on some music, and one person goes, I will be right back. And then that person shared that they were just on with the top on. So it's one of the things to remember, folks, that you can have, I think so there's a phrase which goes like, party on the top and I don't know, slacks at the bottom, or having.
Right. Oh yeah, I know. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what that is. But
yes.
I think people are getting really, really tired of wearing the same old things. And so one of the things that I absolutely am a big believer in, especially if you're in whether you're in a physical room or you have a virtual background, it's really best to wear solid colors. So that, if you do one thing, my biggest piece of advice is to wear solid colors, ideally no white and no black. Reason being is the camera picks up light and white first. So whatever is white will come to the foreground. And that's the first thing that the camera will see. So if you're wearing something light, that's the first thing the camera will see, and will adjust everything else to be darker, including your face. Also, if you're wearing white or light, super light, that's what people will see before they see your face. On the contrary, if you wear black or any dark color, because the camera doesn't specifically identify the color, it identifies light and dark. So it could be dark plum, it'll look black. It could be navy, it's gonna look black. But if you wear these dark colors, you're gonna recede to the background. And then people will look at you and you'll look smaller. You'll look less significant. It'll be more difficult for them to actually even engage with you, because they won't be able to see what your body, your torso, unless for women, maybe you have like a deep scoop or a V that kind of draws their eye down. But if you just have black, all they see is a floating face. And that's why it's difficult to engage with you. So I always suggest, like you have, Divya, you have plum on, you have a solid color. By wearing a solid color, it's easier on our eyes. And again, think of it as a painting. So if you have all this stuff, in your room, whatever the stuff is that you have in your room, whatever room you may be in, those are just different things. And if you have a solid color block that's in the center third of your Zoom block, you will be able to block it as a color block that like sets you apart from whatever's behind you. So solid colors, if you need a print, very small print. Stripes are difficult. Plaids, big plaids are difficult.
Yes, I definitely agree, because I remember like initially when I had my speaker training, that was one of the things that we were taught, and this was in person, that it's important that you are wearing solid colors even when you're speaking, because you want people to have attention to you, not on your outfit, to what you're telling, the point that you're making. So yeah, no, definitely. Like now what you're talking about, the camera and all that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So these are 3 steps. What are the next 2 steps?
Well, actually, camera angle is the first step. So
okay.
You want the camera angle to be straight on, level with your eyes, if not a tiny bit higher. So by having the camera a tiny bit higher than your eyes, it forces your eyes to open. Whereas if you had the camera a little below your eyes, then you're always looking down and you have that puppy dog look. and again, it's really important that people can see your eyes, that they can read your eyes, so they can really engage with you. So by having the camera straight ahead, and also I have a kind of a little bit of a little measuring, like easy measuring hack. So if you take your hand and squish your fingers together and you put it on top of your head, still don't squish, don't scrunch down, sit up straight, put it on top of your head. If you have a couple fingers in view and a couple fingers out of view, you're okay. So you want to have a little bit of space above your head, and you want to have, and another way to measure the bottom is you want to be able to see, like if you take your thumbs and put it in your armpits, you want to be able to, like that's the line. So it's
almost like a headshot, what you're talking about, right?
What? Say that again?
It's almost like what a headshot frame looks like.
it's a headshot. But one thing that you need to be careful of, especially for women who are larger busted, you don't want the fullest part of your bust at the bottom of the box, because that will be closest to the camera and will look bigger than they actually are. So it's okay if that's what you want. Or number two, if you don't care, but also for men, that's okay. But usually women, I say kind of just above the nipple line is the best place to have the bottom of your screen. So that you're taking up that whole center third of real estate.
Right. Now, good points. So based on what you have said, we have had a question come in that, let's say if a person doesn't know you, and what if they miss the verbal cues?
What if they've missed the verbal cues?
Yeah, if they misread the verbal cues, non-verbal cues, because like now you've positioned yourself, for example, like you mentioned that, that the focus should be on eyes, or how you are appearing in Zoom box. So the question is, what is the possibility? What if a person misreads your non-verbal cues?
Okay, just so I'm clear. So I'm getting that if the person who's looking at you misses your nonverbal cues.
Right.
Okay. Right. All right. So I guess you need to be very clear. You need to be very crisp and make it, as I sometimes, one of the terms I've used for decades is idiot proof. That it's simple nonverbal cues. So really it's engagement, it's leaning in. If you cross your legs to the right, you're over here. And if you and I were sitting in the same room, it wouldn't be a big deal. If I crossed my legs to the left, I'd be over here. And it's a little bit dizzying. So by you seeing my nonverbal cues with my hands, so if you can talk a little bit with your hands, it's okay. But I would keep them below your shoulders. I wouldn't bring them above your shoulders, because then it's almost too much. But if you could see a little bit of hand movement, it actually helps people. It helps them understand you better. Another thing that I want to also say, let's just talk very quickly about face and lips. I often say to women that if you wear makeup, not all women wear makeup, it's also really great to put a little bit of, I don't necessarily want to say darker color. Sometimes I say brighter. Sometimes I say darker, depending upon the woman's skin tone, hair color. Reason being, this way people can, if in case there is a little bit of a nano sound blip, it happens every day. Oops, the sound went away. What did you say? There was just an instant of a second. But if they can read your lips because you've outlined them, it's easier to be able to hear what you're saying and see what you're saying. So it's easier to engage and comprehend. So I hope that answered your question about difficulty in being able to read the nonverbal cues.
Absolutely. So does that capture all your 5 steps?
Okay, so camera angle, lighting, background, what color clothing works best on you in your space. And the last one is that I just started to touch on is Zoom specific makeup techniques. So it's the same makeup, but it's different. The application is a little bit different because what it is, first of all, again, it's that blue light. It's that darn blue light that is coming off of the screen onto your face. So not only does it change the color of your skin, but think of it this way. Again, when we're creating our painting, back to that painting again. So just like an artist creates the illusion of three-dimensionality by shading, that's exactly what I do with a few little makeup techniques. It's trying to create again a three-dimensional feeling on a two-dimensional platform. So some women, I'll kind of go from lower to higher. So some women, maybe it looks like they have a unineck look, as I call it. So there's really no definition, at least so it appears on the camera. Maybe because they're the same color and they don't have much of a chin to create any shadow underneath their chin. So I use contour and blush to create the illusion that there's a chin line. So the camera doesn't see the color. So it doesn't matter whether it's blush or it's contour. So what I do, I usually start right on the jowls, and I just literally, I squish my brush together to make it a little bit harder because I want to draw a line. And I just draw a line around my chin line and pull it down a little bit. And what it does is it creates a shadow under my chin to give the illusion that there's the front of my face, there's under my chin, and there's my neck. It's
fantastic.
It's just an illusion. And then I do the same thing with cheekbones. So I don't have any cheekbones. And so if the apple of your cheekbone, which is closest to the camera, you want it to look higher. So to do that, you want it to look lighter. So unlike street makeup, where you would probably put a little bit of blush right on the apple of your cheek. So here I cheat. I create the illusion. I actually take a little bit of blush and contour together because that happens to be my little compact, or it's all together. And I take almost like a semicircle around my cheekbone, of which I don't have much of a cheekbone. And so I'm creating like a semicircle. So it looks like I've got this high, lighter colored cheekbone that appears to be closer to the camera because white and light show up first, which are closer to the camera.
Oh, fantastic. So thank you so much. You have gone through some really phenomenal tips, folks. A lot that we learned today. And so where can people reach out to you and how can they contact you?
Okay. So my company's name is my name. So it's Shelley Golden Style. So it's Shelley with an EY. So ShelleyGoldenStyle.com. You can reach out to me on my website with colors, Zoom makeovers. I have befores and afters. I have workshops. And if you want to email me directly, you can email me at Shelley@ShelleyGoldenStyle.com. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you, work with you. I work with people 3 different ways. I do individual Zoom makeovers. I work with companies within small groups or individuals in the companies. And I also give a ton of presentations, kind of going through the 5 steps of the Zoom makeover to help individuals, companies, organizations really up their game to increase engagement, elevate rapport, and elevate their brand.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for joining us today, Shelley, and sharing it so deeply, because I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot. And folks, you can take, even if you take 3 or 4 tips, because I know I'll be taking the tips, especially I really like the fuchsia and
the Post-its. I know that.
Yeah, it's that deep yellow. So definitely going for that one, and some of the camera angle and all that. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. And of course, audience, thank you so much for being so engaged as always. I love your engagement and enthusiasm. This show is for you. Reach out to us if there are any other stories you'd like to bring us to you, or techniques or tips that will help you in your day-to-day lives. And last but not the least, thank you, Rebel, for making the show possible. And we'll see you next Monday. Be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.